In Polar, the Netflix original film, it is like John Wick meets Red with a splash of James Bond, and it is totally not family friendly. The premise of the film is Mads Mikkelsen is a hitman, and he has been with this company for basically his whole career as a hitman. And through that, he gets paid, and he gets some sort of retirement or this pension. And the premise basically is when he comes up to retirement, if he retires, he obviously gets to keep his pension. But there is a clause within his contract that says if he dies before he retires, his company is the beneficiary of all of that money. So it's in his company's best interest to kill him off right before he retires so that they retain all the money. So there you have it. That's the film. A bunch of hitmen from a company are out to kill one of their own, and he's got to survive. Polar is based off of a graphic novel, and so the entire movie feels like that. I mean, it feels like just a comic book come to life. There's the way that they frame the shots, the way that they do the transitions, the way that they even do titles to tell you where they're at in different locations. It's exactly like that. I mean, it feels like a graphic novel. It feels like a comic book. And in that sense, it really feels a lot like the movie Red with Bruce Willis, because you just have these, you know, and these weird transitions that move you to a next spot. And those I liked. I mean, it's a lot of fun when it does that, and it's an interesting way to keep you moving within the story. The group of hitmen that are after Mads to kill him before he reaches retirement, they remind me a lot of the group of just goons or government agents or whatever they were in Hudson Hawk, the ones that were named after candy bars. Because this group is just, I mean, there's stereotypes within this group, and they are just bumbling idiots and stupid, and just, they're kind of annoying to watch, really, because one is like the sexy, ditzy, just, well, sex doll, really. One is he's quiet and handsome and chiseled, and he's the killer. Well, they're all killers. You have another one who's kind of dumb, I guess. One that looks like an oversized leprechaun. And then this girl who is probably the most talented out of all of them, at least in her killing, and she has no eyebrows, and it's really distracting, and it's really weird. As Mads gets ready to, I mean, he's counting down the days to retirement, and so he goes into hiding, basically. And he goes to this small town in Montana, and there he encounters Vanessa Hudgens, and she's the other star of this film. And in this, golly, she looks so much like Melissa McCarthy's character in Can You Ever Forgive Me? I mean, her hair is just kind of flat, like she, you know, had a low-flow shower head type of thing. She just has bags under her eyes, just these really just clothes that just don't really fit. She just looks dour and depressed the entire time. Now, she does have a backstory, and we do get to find out about that, so it does fit. But when you see her, you're like, wow, she just looks like she's had a tough life. Mads and Vanessa begin kind of a friendship, and she invites him at one point to teach or to go to a school to tell all these kids about his travels. And that, let me tell you, that is the most inappropriate show and tell school presentation ever. I mean, it's so out of reality. And I mean, it fits within the movie, but outside of that, it's like, what in the crap? This would never happen in real life. The story itself is very frenetic. It does have some holes in it, and it pops around a lot. Kind of like just a kid with ADHD on crack. I mean, it's just, I wish it would have slowed down just a little bit, had a little bit more cohesiveness, and really given us a little bit more meat to the story. I mean, John Wick didn't have that much of a story, the first one. I mean, it did a little bit, but it was so good, and it was just, it felt real in the simplicity of the story, and they didn't make it too complicated and have all these weird things. In Polar, it starts out kind of as a simple thing, but then they throw in other little bits here and there, and it just really, it ends up complicating it more. Now, I don't know if that's because they're taking the graphic novel and they're looking at, you know what, this is just one installment. We have all these other ones, so we're going to put these other pieces in. We're not going to totally answer them yet, and then we're going to keep going so we can set ourselves up for a sequel. I don't know. I don't know if that's where it's going to go. I don't know if this is going to do well enough for them to say, yep, we're going to do another one and another one. Or really, I mean, well, it's Netflix, and so it's not like it's based on box office receipts. It's just, do they want to do one? Do they have the actors? Are they going to bring them back? Is there a reason to bring them back? Can you even bring them back based on what happens in the story? Now, in this, I said that it is totally not family friendly, and that's across the board. Whether it's sex or nudity or violence or profanity, Everything is taken to the utmost extreme. There is a torture scene that happens and it is brutal. I mean, it is just terrible to watch. And there's no way in the world that anybody in reality would survive even the first day, let alone, several rounds of this. And oof, golly, it's cringeworthy. And when I'm watching, I was literally like, And I mean, if you ever saw American Assassin, where there's a scene where somebody's fingernails are removed, it's kind of like that you feel the pain that's going on screen. Now, it's not just a little bit of the story that reminds me of John Wick. I mean, a lot of the cinematography does also. You have some of the top-down city scenes that are going, and just some of the dark, long shots, and even some of the close-up action. So a lot of it really does, at least in the filmmaking, borrows from the film of John Wick. Now, I don't know which story came first. My guess is that Polar, as a graphic novel, actually came before the story of John Wick. But even still, just to have the movie come after John Wick, I mean, it feels like it's borrowing too much from that and from the style, and maybe it's just trying to be an homage to it. Now, with all of the violence and it's hyper violence. It really is, and it's ultra violence, and it is crazy to watch. And some of it comes into little small just bursts where you get to see it, and it's Mads having flashbacks, and you get to just see his regret and his pain and just all of his past. And it doesn't really have a lot of context because it is so rapid fire in the scenes that you see. But the scenes that you see are just horrifying. I mean, they are bloody and they are gory, and it is wow. If you watch the trailer, there is a scene with Mads, and he has these gloves on, and it has all these lasers, and it just fires the guns. And that was just a really cool fight scene that happens. I mean, it's not really a fight scene. I guess it's more of a gun scene, because he just goes poof, and just empties these guns, and he's just going like this, like some wizard. And it was fun to see. I don't know if that technology actually exists, but I loved it in the movie. Now, Matt Lucas plays Blut, and he is the head of the organization that Mads works for. And he really resembles Blofeld Goldfinger. I mean, just in some of the ways that he says things, some of the lines that he actually says, the way that he looks, the way that he performs, I mean, everything. It was just like he took that performance and copied it. In this whole cartoonish and over-the-top film, I mean, everything is just exaggerated to the nth degree. I mean, it's just crazy at what they do, and it's so unrealistic. And that's what makes it kind of work, because it is more of a comic book type of movie. The ending is more serious, and it really felt out of place when you have all of this weird and wild stuff going on, and then all of a sudden it's like, nope, we're going to stop down. We're going to be serious for a moment. And so the pacing of that just felt out of place. And it wasn't a bad ending. I mean, I liked it, and it fit as far as story-wise goes, but the look and the feel, and just as you put on the brakes and you get to this point, it's like, I don't know. I think you should have kept it going a little bit. Overall, it's really hard for me to want to recommend this movie, because there is excessive sex, excessive nudity, excessive violence, and excessive language. I mean, it is over the top, like I've said, on everything. And so it is not family friendly in the slightest. If that doesn't matter to you, then you might like it. I think John Wick is the better option if you're going to watch a movie like that. All that being said, I give Polar 2 out of 5 couches. Are you a fan of hyperviolence? I'd like to know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Don't forget to share, subscribe, and tap the notification bell icon so you know when I upload new content. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.